But starting the goals with Tipperary, Brian Hogan, because no one has really commented on him. He started out the year and he was pulled from doing a media event by Liam Sheedy, and that was probably difficult for him as well. And then Paul Maher was in the goal. Now he's back in the goal for every single game. What have you made of his performances?
I think you don't hear much about him. That's what we're saying. And as a goalkeeper, I think that's probably a good reflection on him, and I'd say it's a right good reflection on the team and the way they're defending. Like. He probably hasn't made a lot of saves now. He made a couple of nice ones and has got down low for a big man. But I think the fact that you're not wondering, you're not worrying, and hopefully we're not putting hex on him. But he's done his job very quietly. And for me, if I'm playing in front of a goalkeeper, I don't want to have to think about whether that's him going to pull great saves out. I hope he never has to. And I think that's what he's doing. And his puck outs, obviously they're being worked out because I think we think a tip in the last 2 years, and we've all often complained about the lack of variety. And I suppose supporters are looking and sure, why don't you drive it as far as you can? The problem is when you drive it as far as you can all the time, the other team are just squashing all the space. And if you have no space, you can't swing your stick for a score really on your own. So now he's varying it. He might hit it very short, but then he might hit it to midfield. He might hit it very, very long, and that's creating problems. And if you look at every sport. No matter what sport it is, if you don't play with variety, it's very, very hard to win. And I've played against teams who they have one great forward and he just gets fed, but he's doing all the damage, but they're never going to beat you. So I think it's similar to that. Okay, you have a couple of good players, but you can't hit every ball to them, or you can't do the same tactic because the other team just cops onto it.
As we speak, we don't know whether Cathal Barrett's going to feature or not. 2 weeks after his hamstring, yeah, he'd be shocking. Bonner Maher, we know, is definitely out for the season. But Cathal Barrett seems to be back towards his 2016 form when he was, for a long part of the year, been talked about as hurler of the year. When he first came onto the Tipperary panel, he wasn't massively rated, was he?
Well, no, as in, definitely from the public who had heard, they were maybe surprised that he was brought in. Now, a lot of players were brought in, but he had been on the under-21 team the year before, who I don't think were too successful. But this is it, and I always reference it when people are asking why is this guy brought in or why is another guy brought into any panel. And the thing is, you have to bring him in and try him out. And he got on the strength and conditioning and the high level training, and it was like a duck to water. And within 3-4 months, you could see he was going to be a big player for Tip. So I love saying it. Even I often say it about TJ Reid. Well, TJ Reid, okay, he was on a great panel, but he didn't make it for maybe 4 or 5 years. I often think supporters are very quick to judge players where they sometimes need time. And he was a big shock that he would be so good so quick, but it often happens,
And is there anyone else that kind of developed out of nowhere? And even on the current team, is there anyone that you can see give him a bit more time and maybe they'll jump on? Like Jake Morris, for example, got to start the last
Jake Morris is a huge example of that. Because you can see, what is he, 19 years of age, 20 at the most, he's under 20 anyway. It's such a big jump now. And I know even last year people were saying, well, our under 21s are after winning the All-Ireland. Well, you don't forget that there's a lot of players on that Tipperary team were on one of the best under 21 teams of all time, and that they have a level, and the level is just massive. It's just if you talk about hurling wise, skill wise, tactical knowledge, size, speed. People think of young players and they think quick lads. Actually, in this day and age now, the lads who have 3, 4, 5 years strength and conditioning under the belt are the faster lads, are the more powerful lads, are the leaner lads. It's actually reversed. So I think Jake Morris to me is a big one for the future. I like Ger Brown because he's very fast. He's very fast.
That's not something Tip have in abundance.
And that's what I suppose we've been saying about that. Ger Brown is very, very fast. Now he's raw, and that has been said. Obviously, even you could see, I think it was
the Clare game he got blocked down.
Came in and you're excited, one of his first matches and threw it up to get blocked down. So, but this is the thing. People say just put a lad in, but you have to know they're ready. And if that's a knockout game and there's a point either way in it, things like that can't be afforded to be done. And then the other guy that hasn't got much time this year yet, Mark Keogh, again, forwards, big forward. He's relatively big. He's definitely over 6 foot. He could be 6'2", and he's quite quick. And he looks leaner than he did in the last few years. So I'd like to see a little more of him. But again, blooding these players. I know Darragh Egan was talking about it in interviews. It's very easy just to say throw him in, but when all teams are so professional now, you have to be brought along. I know it took me a year, well, it took at least least 6 months to get used to the demands of it and how pressurised the situations they are. And one more guy who was injured to start this year, Jerome Cahill from Killarwan, was centre forward in the Tip 21s last year, and I think he's a massive future, but just probably got unlucky at the start of this year. And if you get in your first season, if you get injured early on, it's very, very hard to put you in and hope that you're up to the standard at that stage.
What player has impressed you most for Tipperary this year?
Probably, I would say Noel McGrath. Pádraig Maher and Noel McGrath have been very, very good. But just to stand out, I think Noel probably in his most natural position. You know, obviously every team needs good forwards, and he was put up there for a long spell, but probably doesn't suit his skill set as much as midfield.
Because of facing the ball and being able to see the whole picture?
I think so, and I think more so like it's very hard to man mark in midfield, and like Noel is a fantastic engine, and when he gets into his stride is well able to move, but probably not the most explosive of players, and he's twinned up there with Michael Breen, who is probably one of the most explosive players. But Noel is better probably to read it, get around, and his touch is so silky that bar you're right on him like a cornerback or a wing back who's getting man marking him, then it's very, very hard to stop him. And to see the amount of times he's got Tip out of jail and allowed them to play their game by, even against Limerick last day, getting pulled back, but he slips the ball to Brendan midfield. That's the type of thing that actually wins a game, because it really puts down the other team. It really pulls them around from him, because you think you have him turned over and then other score.
You mentioned Michael Breen being explosive. The last day he probably didn't. It's probably his quietest game so far, because he done very well on Jamie Byrne. He pressed high up him on the field, got some scores. Pressed high up on Colin Galvin, shut him down.
Yeah.
Didn't really happen against Will O'Donoghue. You would imagine he's going to line up against Cian Lynch, assuming both guys play.
Yeah.
So he's an explosive player who can score, but his main job is going to be to shut down Cian Lynch.
I would say so. I think it's we know it's a team game, especially around the middle. It's 8 against 8. Like you can't get caught up in another 12 scenario of, well, this is your man, you mark him, I'll mark my man.
I was right on that.
Yeah, you'd still hang on to that one. But like it's not like that. But for primary balls, for the balls that are dropping, for the break of the ball, for maybe if, you know, a Paddy O'Loughlin is coming out with a ball, that instead of committing and letting overlaps created to a Cian Lynch, Michael Breen might just keep back a little bit more on him and say to himself, right, well, maybe it'll be a little bit more 7v7 in the middle of the field than me getting too involved in all scrambles for the ball. Because I just think when Cian Lynch gets it, I think Hannon's a little bit like this too. When they get it and they have that space to look up, they're going to unlock a killer pass, whereas other lads will unlock a good pass, and okay, Limerick might keep the ball, but it's probably going into Galan's mouth if one of those lads hit the ball 30, 40, 50 yards.
So if you're Liam Sheedy, are you looking at, we don't mind, and I'll just pick out perhaps unfairly a couple of guys, maybe Paddy Loughlin if he's playing, Richie English if he's playing, and Mike Casey, we don't mind too much if they have the ball. Let them kind of have it to some degree,
yeah.
And the other lads don't get a ball hand passed over your head to Declan Hannon or Cian Lynch.
Well, this is it. Like Diarmaid Burns there has an unbelievable strike as well, like, because he hits it hard and direct. Paddy O'Loughlin hasn't a bad strike either, but like you have to pick your poison, don't you? Especially if they're back on their 40 metre line and deeper. Like you'd say to any of the full back line, you can have it, try and beat me from here. And Tip, see, that's a tactic, I think, the most important tactic Tip did the last day. You'd see John McGrath go in, Seamus Callan, Jake Morris. Usually they weren't going in, trying to hit him, trying to maybe dog into him. They were going up, they were going the yard from the player, hurley up, hand up, right, beat me if you can, run me if you want, or try and pass an unbelievable threaded ball through me. And they were finding it very hard. And I think Tip had him frustrated the last day now.
So that's to slow down Limerick.
Slow it down, and they're defending from Tip are more so, you know, old school Kilkenny style. When Tip played Kilkenny when I was playing, it was you just get after them all. Everybody gets after everybody, no matter if it's in the bottom corner of the pitch or in the middle of the pitch. You just go at it 100%, because that's how we believed at the time the only way you could shut players down and that we could be shut down. But now Limerick's one of their biggest strengths is their stick passing and moving. So if you come in, try and shut down Richie English or Casey, they'll just step you, pop it, they'll run the ball, and they'll hand it, pass it over maybe a wing forward's head or a centre forward head, and then the whole game's opened up for Limerick, and that's their biggest strength, and Tip didn't do it the last night.
What about Jason Ford's development in the past couple of years? Because he was on the panel 5-6 years. I think it was 2012 or 13. He was due to start against Limerick, and earlier
Yeah.
that day, I think he was ill or something and cried off. So, what is it that's happened in the last year or two that has changed him?
I think getting maybe a little bit fitter helps. First off, I think he lost an awful lot of body fat towards maybe the earlier part of his career, and he got that a little bit more serious. And then you start to play a little bit better, and maybe Seamus Callan was missing last year, so he got belief. So I think one comes off the other. Gets fitter, plays a little bit better, plays better, and then the belief goes there as well. So I think a lot of it. Obviously, he's a very, very talented player, and we've known that since he was a young hurler. But it's, as I said already, going from an under 21 or a minor up to senior level is a completely different ball game. And some lads hit the ground running, and some don't. And he's taken a few years, but now the fact that it's taken him so long, it probably has developed an awful lot of resolve in him. And now he's on the freeze, and he knows he's one of the main men now. So, but Tip know they do need the likes of him to be contesting for this All Ireland. But we can see there the amount of fairly skillful forwards Tip have, but they have to. The most important thing is that they keep up that attitude and work rate that they've had early on, and his development is very important. But it's probably more so to do with getting a chance last year and kind of saying, well, I'm actually as good as all the rest of these forwards and not feeling inferior.
If you're Liam Sheedy, then what area are you trying to target on the Limerick team?
Well, I think I said before they're half back line and half forward line, obviously. But if you can try and get on top of their half back line a little bit, even stop them up on what they're trying to do, then you're going to alleviate a lot of the issues on the other side of the field. Like, but if we just say we were playing them last year, if this was a Tip team of last year, we'd be horsing ball down on top of them all day, and you couldn't see anything other than them coming out with it. They're so big. So we have to win that. Any scraps around the middle, we used to be getting the majority of them, or our share of them, definitely. And then to be able to turn over that half back line, or at least make them pass the ball backwards, and then we can set our play up from there. But if they're coming out to ball and they're just more aggressive, if they're stronger, if they're more competitive than we are, then we'll find it just so unbelievably hard, because they're more athletic when they have the ball in hand, and we'll struggle at that rate.
You were saying before the last group game against Limerick that you would have liked to have seen Bonner on Declan Hannon if they started, because he could go in and see if he likes it physical. Tipperary don't have that option now. What would you like to see? Because Declan Hannon is a main guy that you'd like to shut down. What should Tip do there?
Yeah, and to be honest, it's more that I'd like to see him defending. It's not that there's somebody going to go in and horse into him and just be tougher than him per se. It's to go in and turn him and be somebody in there who's going to go for them breaks with him. I see him in the last few games. He's coming back into his full back line, picking up those breaks we talked about with the high balls, and he's so talented. He's just flicking them up and setting up all the plays. So I'd love to see Bonner in there with him for those breaks and try to outmuscle him and then run him, because no centre back wants to be run at. They want to be facing the ball. They want to be getting onto the ball. So the only what I'd probably Bill O'Meara or Dan McCormack, I wouldn't mind him just seeing him going for that again. Now I know a lot of people say Bubbles there. Actually, even Seamus Callan, looking at it, might be an option there. Just that physical thing, that to be thinking, even a high ball like say Seamus is very competitive on. So I would like to see somebody really competitive, because you could put a Bubbles there, you could put a Jason Ford there, and they would maybe snipe a couple of points. But I think instead of hoping that we're winning the battle, I think you need somebody there to help to win the battle, and then be handing it out to the likes of them, because I think he's too important for Limerick.
And the final question then, who's going to win and why?
Oh sure, look, being honest, I think Limerick could share it. I think 6-player turnaround, they're well rested, they have that motivation to come back to Limerick. I think Limerick could share it, but I certainly wouldn't be surprised with the way Tip are hurling. I think Tip have hurled way better than them this year, but just in Limerick Munster final, I think Limerick have a little bit more to lose, but I certainly wouldn't finish that off. That wouldn't be Tipperary finished for the year at all. And again, 2 wins in a row in 3 weeks trying to beat a team is very difficult. So look, obviously my heart says Tipperary, and I would not be surprised in the least if they bet him, but I would give it to Limerick by a couple of points.